Hello, I'm Buddy Roemer. I'm from Louisiana. I've been a governor and a congressman. I'm 68, but you know what I'm doing now? I'm running for president, and I'm on Stipkovich Live, and I honor them so much for giving me a chance. I run as a Republican. I'm a proud Republican, but I'm a prouder American. I believe in America, and I think we can build this country together. My two issues are justice and jobs. I think Washington is corrupt. The big boys own it. Let's take it back. And I think that's tied to jobs. Let's compete again. Fair trade.
Stipkovich Live, welcome to Boston. We're here at the Boston Globe, and we're speaking to Governor Buddy Roemer, presidential candidate, and an interesting sort of perspective on things. Governor, how are you?
Thank you. Good to be here.
You know, I've looked at your campaign, some of the notes. I've watched and heard many of your interviews and speeches, and I find you beyond refreshing. You know, one of our senior editors, Charles Faddis, is a retired CIA head, and he said, this is the most refreshing and interesting candidate I've seen. I said, well, we have to take a look at this guy, and here you are. Thank you so much.
I'm glad for the chance. You know, my problem is I'm just not known. I'm not heard. I've been in none of the national debates. It upsets me. I can't control it. Right. I'm the only guy running who's been a congressman and a governor, and you would think that I might get asked to be in the debate, so we'll see.
And CEO of a
pretty good-sized bank, yeah, that got no bailout money, profitable, so I don't know.
What do you think that is? And is that part of your campaign reform?
Well, you introduced me by saying that this is an interesting candidate, that he takes a little bit different view of things. Those were your words. And that's why I'm not in the debates, I feel. They don't want somebody to say, I love America, but I don't like its politics. And I think our politicians are bought and sold by special interests. And they don't want somebody saying that, because everybody running, from the president to every Republican candidate, take PAC money, large amounts of special interest money, and super PAC money. It's not right. It's dysfunctional. What America needs is a leader free to lead, who puts the country first, not his or her party. And that's what this campaign's about.
Did that have anything to do with you changing parties back
It did. It's a point that you bring up, I think, wisely. In 1991, I changed from the conservative Democrat that I was to be a Republican. Now, I didn't change anything. I'm the same guy. But the party changed on me. I thought the Democratic Party had begun to move way too far to the left. And by that I mean emphasizing the size of government, right, rather than the efficiency of government. Right. You know, we need government in some places. A strong military defense, fair trade, stop unfair trade, a decent foreign policy. National security is at risk. I wanted Louisiana to have two parties. We were a one-party state, Democrat, so I changed to be a Republican. I felt more comfortable there. And Louisiana is now a two-party state. It's stronger.
Wow, that's fantastic. You know, you mentioned security, foreign and domestically as well. Tell me a little bit about your approach to nation building and going in and out of places like Afghanistan and having a strong national defense but not overdoing federal spending, military spending, and so on.
Balance. America first. Teddy Roosevelt, speak softly, carry a big stick. We're not the policemen of the world. We need to quit acting like it. We are the leading nation on earth, and we are at risk when dictatorships and anti-democratic or democracy forces run. I think our foreign policy is ruled by oil. We ought to be energy independent, get the oil bear out of the room, and then we can decide on what makes America better and do that. I would not have our Marines do oil duty.
Right.
I would scrub the military budget, keep us strong, but maybe 1,100 bases overseas is too much, too expensive.
Right.
When we're borrowing 42 cents out of every dollar, when we are going to be lucky, and it's going to be tough to repay all this debt we have. We need to stop wasting our money. Now, you asked me about nation building. I like nation building when the nation is America. And I think the nation we need to start rebuilding is the one in which we live in, the one in which you and I are talking about, and the place where the Boston Globe sits, the USA. Right. I think we are losing jobs. I think we are spending money we don't have. I think we have a tax code that you can't read. And it's these things that need to be reformed. I'll say this, if you'll let me. There's no reform that I see necessary that doesn't require a first step. Let me describe what I mean. Jobs reform, fair trade reform, oil addiction reform, foreign policy reform, budget reform, tax reform, health care reform. No matter what you look at, the first step is going to be campaign reform. Because I think we live in a country where the people don't run it anymore. Special interests do. Right. The top 3 or 4%, or as Occupy says, the top 1%, whatever that percent is, there are a handful of people trying to run 310 million Americans, and they're not doing a good job of it because they're bought and sold. Right. So I would start with campaign reform, and then I would go to budget reform, to tax reform, to foreign policy reform, to fair trade reform. That's the process I would do.
I understand this question because I mean it in a supportive way.
All right.
But doesn't that starting with campaign reform sort of almost defeat itself in that the minute you start reforming your own campaign contributions and your own sort of policy, it's self-evident now. You're having a difficulty getting in these debates, which you are completely qualified and should be in.
Well, I'm a Methodist boy, and I believe in miracles, but I can't control those.
Right.
So what I have to do is what I believe is true.
Right.
What I have to do is what I've done before in cleaning up the state of Louisiana.
Right.
And the way you start is to practice what you preach. I can't run for president and make campaign reform the major issue without making it the major issue in my campaign. It makes it harder. Here are my rules. No PAC contributions accepted. $100 maximum is what I'll take. I report everything, full disclosure. I have a 48-hour reporting period, not 120 days. You know who gives me money? When they give it to me. I don't take a check from a lobbyist. I don't allow super PACs. I don't allow PACs to give more than individuals, and I don't take any PAC money at all. And when I'm president, we're going to do these 5 things and add one more thing. Criminal penalties for politicians who break this law. Here's what I want. I want Washington, D.C. to stop being the capital of corruption and start being a leader for the free world. I propose that I should be president for 4 years as I bring a broom and clean Washington up. And when I do, we will have the strongest economic boom that this nation's had in 60 years, since World War II. We will put this country in the jobs business again. But it starts with cleaning up the corrupt politics. GE was the largest corporate giver 4 years ago to the presidential campaign. They gave $4 million to one candidate and $4 million to Mr. Obama. Mr. McCain and Mr. Obama. The largest gift is from GE. Guess who the president's jobs advisor is? The president of GE. Guess who made $15 billion last year and didn't pay any taxes? GE. The system's not fair. It's against the small business person. It's against the patriot. It's against the average man and a woman who start their own business. It's against plain people. And I think that we need to recapture this country from the special interest. You say, well, buddy, isn't it self-defeating? Can you win doing this? I need 1 million people to stand with me.
I said that supportively.
I know you did.
Okay.
No, I'm not fussing.
Right.
You made a very wise statement. If this were easy, somebody else would have done it.
Right.
Because they know it's right.
Right.
Ask any other politician quietly. They know it's right.
Right.
They know Washington's bought and sold. They know it's corrupt. They know Congress is doing insider trading, conflict of interest, riding around in limousines. None of them ever get beat. I mean, they take large retirements and then they become lobbyists the next day.
Right.
Not right. The other candidates know it right. They just are not at that age in their life where they can stand up and do it. So I'm not fussing at them. I'm just pointing out that I'm the only person running who's been a governor and a congressman. And I am the only person running who says no to the special interest money. Follow me, America, and we'll clean this up.
How have your favorite leaders influenced you? Who are they?
Oh, so many.
And how have they influenced you?
John Kennedy. He said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country.
Right.
I mean, that's
I wish I said that.
That's where America needs to be. I mean, I wish you were here. I'd be supporting him.
What's your catchphrase you think that's going to be remembered the way that one was?
Oh, Lord, I don't think I have one. That's a good question. I'll have to give that some thought. You know, what I say more often than not is that I love America, but I don't like its politics. And I want a president like that. I want a president that's not in love with politics, but is in love with America. And if I can get that kind of woman or man, I would follow them to the end of the earth. This country is in decline. Jobs, debt, it's unsustainable. Unfair trade with China, it's unsustainable. No more manufacturing jobs, it's unsustainable.
May I ask you a little detail about that? You
Yes.
said unfair trade with China.
Yes.
Can you define that a little more?
Yes, it's when their products can come to this country freely, but our products cannot go to their country freely. What's fair about that? I mean, America, for the last 20 years, has always said free trade. Well, the biggest nations on earth who are beating us every day don't have free trade. Germany doesn't. Japan doesn't. China doesn't. Right. Here's what I want. I want fair trade. It doesn't have to be free. But China just imposed a 22% tariff on automobiles made in America. We don't impose a tariff on anything they make. I would get their attention. They can no longer have child labor and prison labor and have their products come to America. Hello?
Right.
I mean, if New Hampshire won't allow a manufacturing plant to use child labor and prison labor, why should we buy something from China that does that? But our tax code is set up to let GE go to China and build the plant and we pay for it. It's not right. It's not fair. And it hurts the working women and working men of America. Look, we have 1.3 million fewer jobs today than we did 14 years ago. We have 47 million more Americans and 1.3 million fewer jobs. And the reason is the big companies own the tax code and they let us give the jobs away. You know why? They make more money.
Sure.
They make more money.
Which is a big point here. How do you combat that? I mean, traditionally, you look back at history, some of the guys on these walls behind me, they have not been able to do it. I mean, that lobbyist, that big business, that big corporation always seems to win at the end, you know?
Yeah, but it's gotten worse.
Yeah.
You know, I don't.
And now you're shrinking your
mind.
campaign budget. You're just saying $100 tops, and
that's it.
I'm the quiet guy from Louisiana.
Because that's the only way when I win that I can serve. You understand my thought process.
No.
Most Americans don't give a penny to a presidential candidate. It's the top 1 or 2% who do. I don't want their money.
Right.
I'm telling the average American, look, let me give a Teddy Roosevelt speech. 100 years ago, here's what Teddy Roosevelt said. Is the Republican Party going to be the party of privilege and Wall Street? Or is it going to be the party of plain people who built a great nation? I'm asking that same question, and I'm trying to make it come true by running my campaign that way. I need 1 million people to stand with me at $100. That's $100 million. I'll win the primary. And then against Obama, I need 5 million to stand with me at $100, and that's $500 million, and we'll whip him. It can be done, but it can't be done under today's business as usual. Today, the average American doesn't give a penny. It's only the fat cats, the big guys, the big shots who give the money. I won't take their money. So I've got to return to the American people. And what that forces me to do as president is to listen and lead. Listen and lead. Not Wall Street, the American people. I'm a banker. Successful. I'm real proud of what we've done. No bailout money. I watched Obama sign that bank reform bill and run to Wall Street for his payoff. $35,800 a ticket, sponsored by Goldman Sachs. I'm telling you, we are corrupt at the top. And the first thing I have to do before I balance the budget, before I do tax reform, the first thing I have to do is put the special interest back on the sidelines and ask the American people to come to the playing field with me.
How are you going to do it?
That's real simple. Appeal to people during the campaign, not after the campaign. My election is right now, and I appeal to the American people to do something you've never done. I'm asking the American people to have the guts to take a chance on reform. I'm asking the American people to not let the politicians get away with business as usual. They're all taking the money. I'm saying, whoops, if you love your children, if you love your grandchildren, if you love your country, take a look at me and let's do this. And when I'm elected this way, I will challenge the Congress in my first bill. It'll be on campaign reform. And I'll tell them, I want to work with them, I want to listen to them, I want their ideas, but we will pass this bill. And if we don't, I will veto every bill that comes to me until we get this done. And they know I mean it. I told the people in New Hampshire, I said, why don't you send Washington a message? And they said, what's that, Governor? I said, Buddy Roemer. He's got a big broom. It's the only way to do it. I've been a congressman. I understand how they work. I will honor them by name, but I will not accept second best. I will not accept business as usual. I will not accept America going downhill. I will not accept it.
Where do you stand with New Hampshire, and how are they going to support you as far as your...
We'll see in the next 3 or 4 weeks. The election's January 10th. I've not been on a debate, so it's hard to get my name. I noticed in the last poll...
that's got to be driving you crazy.
It is, but in the last poll, I made my first move forward. Here's what I did. I went from 1% to 2%.
That's it. It's a start. You beat Perry, I heard.
I did beat Perry. I tied Michelle Bachmann. I tied Rick Santorum. They've been on every debate, these guys.
Right.
I am unknown.
Right.
I'm only known by 8% of the people, and 2% are voting for me. No one else can do that. Look, if we double again in the next week, and then double after that, I'm going to surprise somebody in New Hampshire. And that's all I need. I need for you to say on the air, the week after New Hampshire, Roemer surprised them. If I can say that, we'll be the talk of the nation. Not me. We. Because I'm married to campaign reform. I'm married to justice and jobs. And that'll be the talk of the nation.
I'll say it. I will. Absolutely.
Come on, man. I've got to prove it to you, but come on. I've got a shot.
Absolutely. Are you kidding me? No, you can do this. I mean,
look, I'm going to do it. The race is wide open.
Wide open. I looked at frankly, everyone I talk to, and I have a show that airs frequently, I talk to a lot of people from all spectrums. They're all just tired of the candidates.
They are.
You know, everyone's got these skeletons. Everyone's drumming up these skeletons.
Yeah.
By the way, any skeletons coming from...
Not that I know of. I have a bad accent.
I love your accent. It's endearing.
I like it too, but, some people in New Hampshire say, where are you from, man?
Right.
I said, I'm from southern New Hampshire.
Really? Baton Rouge, New Hampshire.
I went to Harvard. That's a bad thing
Twice.
in some places.
That's
yeah,
a good thing.
I did. I don't know. I've been divorced.
Your opponents, what do they say? What's their complaint?
They say I'm too hard-headed. They say I'm unreasonable.
How can you be hard-headed? You've switched parties.
Hey, look, guys. I listen well. I'm 68. I think it's the best thing I have going for me. I'm old enough to be a big boy. I'm a grown-up. I know this nation's in trouble. I listen first, and then I move. For 1 year, I listened. And you know what I heard? Washington is corrupt. And I said, I agree. Let's go clean it up.
My producer and fiancée, Darlene Tejado, the beautiful woman to your left.
I would much rather talk to her.
I know. You would be both. No offense. But we talk about this party system all the time. We say, what is the point of the party system? I understand the political requirement at times.
Yeah.
But, what happens is people start voting and discussing and arguing about a party instead of an issue.
That's
or
right.
A party instead of a person.
Yeah. You're not president of a party. You're president of a nation.
That's right.
And the day you get elected, you need to put your party aside.
Right.
You don't have to disrespect it. Let it do its thing. But we need a united country.
Right.
The way you build a nation is to ask everybody to join in and to give according to their ability to give. And if they're old, give wisdom. If they're young, give energy. If they're in between, give a little of both. But I will reach across the aisle. I will appoint Democrats to my cabinet, Republicans to my cabinet, independents to my cabinet, women to my cabinet, men to my cabinet. We will build America, and we'll do it from the center. And I have a history of this. I think I'm the only person running who's been in both parties.
Right.
20 years a Democrat, 20 years a Republican.
Right.
That's a gift.
You have a lot of unique
That's
gifts.
a gift.
The only bank didn't take a buyout. The only this, the only that.
It's a gift.
Now, I heard, and I don't know if I'm supposed to bring this up or not, but I'm going to anyways. I heard you're looking at Lieberman for your VP.
I've thrown out names, the likes of which Erskine Bowles from North Carolina would be a good one. And I've used other names. I have not made that decision yet. We will look when the time comes. Okay. But those are the kinds of names that I'll be looking at. Independent, American first, and can work with me. Believe like I do.
Right. We talked a little bit about fair trade with China, for example.
Yes.
You made some examples of fair trade in China. We talked about nation building, U.S. nation building.
Right.
We talked about keeping a strong economy and a strong military.
Right.
How do we balance that with not becoming an isolationistic?
We don't want to do that. We don't want to be an isolationist. I like Ron Paul a lot. He seems like a decent guy. I used to work with him in the House. We were both elected to the House 30 years ago. He's way older than I am. 30 years ago. 30 years ago. And he's a decent guy. He's honest guy. He says what he believes. But here's where we part company.
Right.
I mean, as a banker, he and I agree on the central bank. It needs to be cut back. It needs to be managed. It needs to be structured. Where we disagree is on foreign policy. I believe that America has a role to play in a peaceful world. It should be a leader. It should be a friend. It should offer the hand of friendship to all who would join with it. But it will insist that a nation that's being stepped on, a nation that's being treated incorrectly, be given a shot to stand up. I've already said that I'm not for us being the policeman for the world. We shouldn't get involved in every skirmish.
Right,
but sometime, somewhere, someplace, there's a need to stand up. And if we have to use our military, then we have to do it. I would prefer economic sanctions. That's what I would do with Iran, for example. I wouldn't let a single product made with Iranian oil to come to America. I would put the squeeze on them so hard they would cry.
To what end? What are you trying to gain?
Get rid of nuclear proliferation. I think Iran is being false in their claim that they're not building uranium-grade weapon-grade uranium,
Right.
and I think we ought to stop it. I wouldn't send an army over there. Very expensive, very bloody, loss of life. I would do economic sanctions. I passed a bill in Congress in 1986 to put sanctions on South Africa. Nelson Mandela had been in prison for 27 years or 30 years.
Right.
We passed it in the House and the Senate. Took it to the president, and he signed it 7 months later. Nelson Mandela walked free. We are much stronger economically than we give our credit. We always send our army first. Don't do that. Send our economic might first. Save the army. Save the Marines. Save lives. Let the country that's targeted know we're unhappy, and here's why. You don't have to change your country.
Right.
You just have to stop building nuclear weapons.
Right. What about Cuba? How do you feel about the situation there? What would you change?
I think it's changing as we speak. I think we're gonna be a good trading partner with Cuba, but we have to stand by American policy to not allow trade until the dictator gives up his power. Just that simple. No trade. Dictator gives up his power. We're not going to make the dictator look good by sending fresh automobiles in there. Not right.
Right. National intelligence, CIA, NSA, all the other intelligence agencies, their role, do you find you feel it's as important?
Well, guess who was surprised at the death Saturday of the leader of North Korea? Our intelligence service.
Well, they kept it quiet 48 hours.
Yeah, well, it was announced elsewhere before it was announced here. I wonder, was it our policy to know it and not say? Or did we not know? Isn't that a good question to ask?
That's really
Running for President of the United States, I want to know how good our CIA and other national security agency intelligence is. I have a growing skepticism that we're too little too late in our knowledge, and that we have not invested in real human beings over time. Saw a good show this weekend. I recommend it to your audience. It's called Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. Go see it.
I heard about
It's
this.
written by John le Carre.
Right.
It's written about the 70s,
Right.
when the Cold War was at its height, and espionage was everything. It's time for America to be the leading data gatherer in the world. I don't think we are now.
Do you think it's a money issue right now, a budget issue, or a talent and leadership issue?
I think budget is an excuse.
Really?
I think it's talent and leadership. It'd be interesting to see what David Petraeus does.
Right.
I have high regard for him. And I can't wait to be in the final 2 or 3 running for president. And that's one of the first people I'll call and get a briefing by David Petraeus on what he thinks about our intelligence agencies. I know one of the first things I'll do as president is consolidate information technology. That's never been done in our government. I know one of the second things I'll do.
That's a dangerous goal. I mean,
absolutely,
that's a
it's going to rub a lot of people the wrong way,
A lot of people
but it
with
needs
big
to be done.
pocketbooks.
Oh, big pocketbooks! You're on it. You're sharp.
Yeah.
The second thing I'll do is standardize software. Our software is not standardized. We use about 37 different kinds of software.
Sure.
It's ridiculous. The FBI and the CIA can't talk sometimes.
Right.
We need to consolidate IT and standardize software. We also, 42% of all federal employees will retire in the next 10 years. I would replace half of them with high tech, giving better service. That doesn't fire anybody. I just don't replace them. That saves $100 billion a year.
Last couple quick ones.
All right.
NASA, what would you have done with it, and what are your plans?
A nation with excessive debt shrinks. Louisiana Purchase was bought from Napoleon for 11 cents an acre. He had a debt he had to pay. We stole America. Wow. France disappeared from the New World. Excessive debt. The loss of the space program is because of our excessive debt, and we couldn't afford to spend money. Shame on America. By accident, the benefits of the space program are worth its investment. By accident. And by purpose, we get to see the universe. I'm an American. We ought to be seeing the universe. I will have a John Kennedy speech. We will get back in the universe. I promise you.
If I were to vote today, I would vote for Buddy Roemer. That's not a line, that's not a softball, that's not a cushy thing to say because you came out and took the time to talk to me. Every single question I asked you, you gave me the winning answer, and I'm kind of a pain in the butt when it comes to that stuff. You got off easy because you said the right things.
No more interviews with you. I don't want to risk it.
No.
I accept, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
And particularly for having your fiancée here. You made a difference in my whole life.
That's it. Everyone sits up a little straighter when she's around.
Right.
Any last words? Anything
No,
we
I've
can
enjoyed it. Let me say again.
What can I do to help get your message
just
out there?
Get the word out as much. Give them my website if you don't mind.
Fantastic website, by the way.
It's BuddyRoemer.com, and it's Roemer. And remember, $100 or less. If you've never given anything to a president, how about $5 or $10? It'll make a difference. I'll spend it in New Hampshire.
Fantastic. All right.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
It's been an honor.
Appreciate it. It's my honor. I'm glad you asked me about the space program. No one's asked me about the space program.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Excessive debt shrinks a nation. The space program disappeared. Wow.
Everything that Kennedy was striving to accomplish is
got cut short.
Yeah.
got cut short.
You afraid of that?
Absolutely. I remember it's harder to get back on than it is to get off.
Yeah.
Look,
Oh, yeah.
We're going to have to get back on. It's not going to be cheap. It's not going to be quick. But I'll get us back on. We'll get back on. We'll pick a target and we'll go for it. I remember when Kennedy gave the speech, man. We'll send a man to the moon and back again safely by the end of the decade. And he was shot and killed 2 years later.
Right.
And we still did it.
Yep.